Okay, so let's talk about two words we throw around all the time. Subjective and objective. Seems pretty simple, right? But what if I told you that the way we usually think about them is all wrong? And that this little misunderstanding might actually be getting in the way of how we connect with each other? You know the feeling, right? You're so excited about a new song or a movie and you tell your friend, this is the greatest thing ever. But then you immediately backtrack and say, but that's subjective. It's like we're apologizing for our own taste. We use it to shut down the conversation, basically saying, hey, this is just my little opinion, it's not a real fact. But what if that's a total misuse of the word?
Yeah, this is what we all learn in school, right? Objective means it's a hard fact, something you can prove, universal. And subjective, well, that's just messy. It's your personal feelings, your opinion. It's not real in the same way. But hang on, what if this clean little division is the whole problem?
So to really get to the bottom of this, let's just look at how we actually use these words in a normal conversation, because that's where the confusion really starts to kick in.
Okay, picture this. You're out to eat with friends, you take a bite of something amazing and you say, wow, this food is delicious. But that's subjective. See what's happening there, we use subjective like a shield. It's our way of saying, hey, this is true for me, but I'm not going to say it's true for everyone.
Right. So we're basically just admitting our experience isn't the only one. The food tastes incredible to me, but maybe my friend thinks it's just okay. And we tend to stop there. We treat subjective like it's the end of the line for a truth. But here's the big idea. What if it's not the end? What if it's actually the starting point?
And that leads us to a really different and honestly a much more powerful way to think about all this. Forget subjective as a dead end for truth. What if subjectivity is the process of finding truth in the first place?
Now, this idea changes everything. Subjectivity isn't a kind of truth, like an opinion. No, it's the state you're in before you've decided. It's that active moment of wondering, is this good? Do I actually like this? It's the questioning, the testing, the not knowing yet part.
And here's the thing, this process, this state of being subjective, it has a goal. The point isn't to just float around in opinion land forever. The goal is to run your own little experiment and arrive at a result that, for you, is totally and completely objective. Let's just walk through it with that food example. Step 1, pertimbangen, or consideration. You're just thinking, is this food any good? Step 2, experiment, the experiment. You take a bite. And step 3, hasil objective, the objective result. You decide, yes, this is delicious to me. Boom. For you, in that moment, the truth is settled. It's a proven fact based on your own experiment.
And that's the core of it right there. The second you make that decision, yep, this is delicious, you're not in a state of subjectivity anymore. You've completed your investigation and you now have an objective truth. It's an objective truth for you.
Okay, but of course, it's not that simple. There's a catch. Your personal objective truth, well, it has limits. And this is where two really cool new ideas come in that help explain how your reality interacts with everyone else's.
So check this out. Your decision that the food is delicious, that's what we can call limited objectivity. It is 100% real and proven for you. But the moment your friend takes a bite and says, I don't know, it's not for me, your objective truth suddenly becomes limited subjectivity. From their point of view, your truth is now up for debate again because they haven't run the same experiment and gotten the same result.
So what about the ultimate test case for this whole idea? What about a dream? I mean, think about it. It's an experience that is literally impossible for anyone else to get inside of or verify. So, is a dream subjective or objective?
Well, according to this way of thinking, when we say a dream is subjective, we're only talking about it from the outside looking in. For the person who had the dream, the experience was totally, completely real. It was their objective reality. The weird colors, the flying, the feeling of it, all of that was a proven, experienced fact to them.
Okay, so let's pull all this together. What does this actually mean for us? Well, this whole new framework gives us a much better and, frankly, a more respectful way to talk about what's real.
First big takeaway, we have to rethink the word subjective. It's not just a flimsy opinion anymore. It's the active, curious process of figuring something out. It's the question mark you have before the experience.
And number 2,
That means objective isn't some high and mighty word reserved for science textbooks. An objective truth is simply the proven result of an experience. It's the real outcome that you, personally, have lived through.
And this is why it's so important for how we talk to each other. Think about it. If your experience is your objective reality, and my experience is my objective reality, then the word subjective stops being a weapon to dismiss someone. It's not a wall. Instead, it becomes the word we use to describe the fascinating space between our two different but equally valid objective worlds. It becomes a bridge.
And that leaves us with one last massive question. This idea does a beautiful job explaining personal truth, but it also opens up a huge challenge. If every single one of us is creating our own objective reality through our experiences, how on earth do we ever agree on a shared reality to live in? And that is something to think about.
You know the old saying, right? Subjective is just your opinion, and objective is the cold, hard fact. Case closed. But what if that's not the whole story? What if there's a much more interesting, more powerful way to think about these ideas? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to dive into. I mean, you've heard this a million times. Someone shares an experience or an idea, and it gets shot down with, well, that's just subjective. It's used like a conversation ender, right? A way to say that something isn't really, truly real. But is that fair? Is that even what subjective means? We're about to find out. Okay, here is the big mind shift for today. Forget opinion versus fact for a second. Instead, let's try this on. Subjective just means something is untested. It's a possibility, an idea we're still considering. And objective, that's simply the result you get after you've actually tested it. See the difference? We're moving from a fixed label to a dynamic process. All right, so to really get our heads around this, we have to start by tackling that common myth about what subjective really is. And a super simple, everyday example is going to make this crystal clear. Picture this. You're at dinner, you take a bite of something, and it's amazing. You say, "This food is delicious," but that's subjective. What you're really saying is, hey, my experience might not be the same as yours. You're acknowledging that the truth of its deliciousness is personal. This is our classic starting point. So, yeah, that's the common view in a nutshell. Subjectivity is when the results depend on who's doing the looking. It's true for me, but maybe not for you. But here's the twist. What if that personal truth is its own kind of fact? Let's follow that idea. This brings us to a fascinating concept, being objective for one. What if that so-called subjective feeling is actually a personal, but very real objective reality? Think about it for a second. For the person who said the food was delicious, is that just an opinion? No way. They conducted a tiny experiment. They tasted it. The result for them was clear. It was confirmed. It is an objective fact in their reality. Their personal experience became their personal objective truth. A dream is the perfect example of this. To everyone else, my dream is totally subjective, right? But for me, the dreamer, that experience was 100% real. It was an objective event inside my own consciousness. This idea has a name, and it's a game changer, limited objectivity. It's a truth that is proven and real for the person who lived it, even if nobody else did. And this leads us to the next big point. Objectivity isn't just an on or off switch. It's way more like a scale, a journey you take from a simple idea all the way to solid evidence. This journey shows you exactly how it works. You start with an idea. That's pure subjectivity. But the second you take action, the second you start testing it, you begin moving along that scale. You get some early findings, and boom, you have a temporary result. The more you test, the more evidence you build, the stronger the objectivity gets, and the more the subjectivity fades away. So the key thing to remember here is that objectivity isn't some fixed star in the sky. It's alive, it's dynamic. It can grow or it can shrink, all depending on how much we're actually testing our ideas. It's a living process. So what happens when your limited objectivity runs into someone else's? This is where this whole framework becomes incredibly useful for understanding why we disagree and how we communicate. Usually, it plays out in one of a few ways. You might have one person who has the evidence from their own test, talking to someone who's only thought about the idea. Or you could have two people who've both run their own experiments, and maybe their results match up, or maybe they totally clash. This table just nails it. Look at that first row. Party 1 has tested something, they have evidence. Party 2 hasn't. So what you have is a clash between objectivity and subjectivity. What's an objective reality for one person is still just an untested idea for the other. And if both have tested it, well, now you have two limited objectivities. Both are completely valid for the person who experienced them, even if they point in opposite directions.
Okay, so let's bring it all home. What's the big takeaway here? How does changing a couple of definitions actually help us in our day-to-day lives?
This right here is so powerful. If we think of subjective this way, it's no longer a dismissal. It doesn't mean wrong or unimportant. It just means the experiment isn't over yet. The decision hasn't been made. It's a state of pure potential, an invitation to find out, not a reason to shut down. And this is just so empowering. It means objectivity isn't some abstract thing out there that we have to go find. We are building it, all of us, piece by piece with every single action we take and every result we confirm for ourselves. You are the architect of your own objective reality. And that leaves us with one final, really important question to chew on. If truth is something we build, not just something we find, then how should we approach our disagreements? Maybe instead of arguing about who was right, we should start by asking, so what experiment did you run?